You ever stop to think about what's really inside a kid's toy? Or if that new piece of workout gear is actually safe? Beyond the slick packaging and bright colors, a lot of everyday products have these hidden risks. And these dangers aren't just a problem for us and our families, they are a massive, and I mean massive risk for the companies that make them. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on product safety, specifically in the toys and sporting goods world. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at the dangers that can be lurking in the toy box. Then, we'll see just how expensive it gets for a company when things go wrong. After that, we'll get into the solution, the SASB standard, and break down how it actually measures safety. And we'll wrap it all up by showing why this kind of transparency is a game changer for everyone. So, when we talk about product dangers, what are we really getting at? I mean, it's not always something as obvious as a sharp corner. The risks are often invisible, and they tend to fall into two main buckets. Yeah, so on one hand, you've got harmful chemicals. These are the really sneaky risks, right? They might not cause a problem right away, but they can have these awful long-term effects on a child's health and development. And then on the other hand, you have faulty designs. These are the more immediate physical dangers. We're talking about small parts that are choking hazards, bad wiring that can cause a fire, any kind of design flaw that could lead to a serious injury or worse. And this isn't a problem that's standing still. This industry is constantly under a microscope, with this whole web of safety regulations. And as science gets better at understanding chemical safety, you can bet the rules are only going to get tighter. It puts this incredible pressure on companies to stay way ahead of the curve. So, what happens when it all goes wrong? Well, this is where a consumer safety problem can spiral into a total business catastrophe. If a company doesn't manage these risks right, it can set off this absolutely disastrous chain reaction. And it really is like a row of dominoes. It all starts with just one unsafe product making it to the store shelves. Then, inevitably, people get hurt. That forces the company into these incredibly expensive recalls. But it doesn't stop there. Next come the lawsuits and huge government fines. And maybe the worst domino of all is the last one. Your company's reputation is in tatters, and sales just dry up. That trust can take years to win back, if you ever do. This whole thing ties into a really important idea, the social license to operate. Now, this isn't a physical permit hanging on a wall. It's the trust and acceptance a company gets from the public. It's the feeling that they're a good actor. When a company fails to keep its customers safe, it completely shatters that trust, and it puts its very right to be in business on the line. Okay, so with the stakes being this high, how do you even begin to build in some accountability? This is exactly where you need a solid framework, and that's where the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or SASB, comes in. The SASB standards, which are now part of the IFRS Foundation, are basically a roadmap for companies. The cool thing is, they aren't just generic rules. They provide specific guidance for each industry, helping businesses pinpoint, manage, and, most importantly, report on the risks that actually matter in their world. Like product safety for a toy company. And here's the absolute key. SASB connects the dots between an issue like product safety and a company's bottom line. We're talking about real, tangible impacts on their cash flow, their ability to get a loan, even their cost of capital. It takes safety from being just a factory floor concern and puts it right in the boardroom, where it belongs. But how does this all work in the real world? How do you turn a big idea like safety into something you can actually track and compare? Well, let's dig into the specific things companies are expected to report on. This table lays it out perfectly. There are two hard numbers companies have to report. First, the number of recalls and how many products were actually recalled. That shows you the scale of the problem. Second, the total amount of money lost in legal battles, which shows the financial pain. But it's not all numbers. The third metric is where they have to discuss their actual strategy for managing chemical risks, so you get a look under the hood. And let's be clear on what a recall is. It's the whole process of yanking a dangerous product off the market. And a really key distinction is whether it's voluntary, where the company does it themselves, or involuntary, where a regulator forces them to. A lot of involuntary recalls, that's a huge red flag about a company's culture. And the financial reporting part is brutally direct. This isn't some vague estimate. It's the cold, hard cash a company has paid out in fines, settlements, you name it, because of safety problems. That number makes the cost of failure absolutely impossible to ignore. Now, for that third piece, the company's strategy, you usually see two main approaches. The hazard-based approach is pretty simple. If a chemical is known to be toxic, it's out. Done. The risk-based approach is a little more nuanced. It asks, okay, we know this chemical is hazardous, but what's the actual probability it could harm someone in this specific product? It's not just about what's dangerous, but what poses a real-world risk, and companies have to explain which path they've chosen and why.
So when you put it all together, the hard numbers, the financial costs, the strategic discussions, you start to see the big picture. This kind of transparency creates a powerful ripple effect that actually helps everyone involved.
And here's how it all connects. Investors can see the real risks a company is facing. Regulators can spot wider trends across an entire industry. Companies can actually benchmark themselves against their competition. But most importantly, all of this pressure leads to safer products for you and me. And that safety, in turn, protects and even improves the company's brand. It really is a win-win cycle. This quote from the standard itself just hits the nail on the head. Managing safety isn't just about following rules or avoiding lawsuits. It's a real strategic advantage. It makes your brand stronger and your company financially healthier. At the end of the day, it's just smart business. And that pretty much wraps up our deep dive today. But it leaves us with a big question to think about. We've seen how standardized reporting can shine a light on hidden dangers in toys. So what other risks? In the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the technology we use every single day? What else deserves this same level of transparency? Something to chew on.